Right now at 10, tracking Tropical Storm Cindy. Voluntary evacuations and warnings in effect tonight as the storm gets ready to hit the Gulf Coast.
Plus, disappointed and insulted. The family of a teen that committed suicide in a police cruiser responds to an officer's suspension in the case.
You know, Austin has a ton of parking challenges.
How one group is trying to solve the parking problem that plagues drivers across the city. The Night Beat starts now.
We are watching closely tonight as Tropical Storm Cindy moves closer to making landfall in the Gulf.
Chief Meteorologist Albert Ramon has a look at what this tropical storm could do when that happens. And Albert, could the Gulf see some serious flooding?
Portions of the Gulf Coast, especially the central Gulf Coast, Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, already dealing with some flooding issues, and that could only worsen over the next 24 hours. Here's the very latest 10 o'clock advisory on Tropical Storm Cindy moving to the north-northwest, getting very, very close to the Texas coast at around 7 miles per hour. Sustained wind speeds at 50 miles per hour, and the rain band's already impacting the upper Texas coast, especially along I-10 between Houston and Beaumont near the community of Winnie. That's where we're seeing the most tense in rainfall and even some of the gustiest winds. At times, we've had wind gusts around 40 miles per hour. And as that center of circulation gets closer to the coast overnight into tomorrow morning, wind gusts up to 60 to 65 miles per hour will be possible before this takes a northeast turn away from Texas here late tomorrow. For us, the best we can do for rain, an isolated shower tomorrow. We've got a lot of heat on Friday and some more rain to tell you about for the weekend. But back to Cindy along the Gulf Coast. ABC's Elizabeth Herr has the latest.
High surf, floodwater, heavy wind and drenching rain already hammering coastal areas across 5 states. The governors of Louisiana and Alabama each declaring a state of emergency. The area also under a tornado threat. The leading edge of the storm filled with funnel clouds. Families watching waterspouts come ashore in Mississippi. More than half a foot of rain drenching the state. Hundreds of roads there submerged. By Friday, forecasters expect rain totals of up to 12 inches possible in some spots. In New Orleans, this pond is full of water out of Lake Pontchartrain. This levee, all that's keeping it from flooding that nearby neighborhood. And Lake Charles, an area that knows hurricanes well.
It's been hit by large hurricanes in the past. And with these coastal marshes, definitely get to higher ground.
In Texas, the Bolivar Peninsula is under a voluntary evacuation.
We're planning on losing electricity. This Bolivar is notorious for losing electricity.
Meaning the elderly or those with medical conditions are on the way out. And sadly, Cindy has claimed one life, a 10-year-old killed on an Alabama beach. Storm surge knocking a log onto him. Here in Galveston, we have a lot of tourists here on the beach just watching the Gulf as the storm comes closer. Everyone here on Galveston Island watching the forecast closely because we know wind and rain are going to be picking up overnight, and that means for Galveston Island, power outages, and in some cases, those power outages will last a while. Everyone here hoping Cindy stays far away. Tracy Clemens, ABC News, Galveston, Texas.
And one person with the Austin Fire Department is in Galveston tonight on standby, and also on standby here in Austin, a 6-person boat team that will help if they're called.
A statement tonight from the family of a teenager who used a gun to shoot himself in the back of a police cruiser after his arrest. Earlier today, we told you the officer who missed the gun during a pat-down got a 20-day suspension. The family statement says, in part, a 20-day suspension does little to nothing to correct the issue going forward and is insulting to the Anand family who lost their only son. 19-year-old Zachary Anand shot himself on the way to APD headquarters. The responding officer, Ivan Wall, had been called to investigate whether Anand was shoplifting at Barton Creek Square Mall. A man wanted for sexually assaulting, robbing, and kidnapping 4 women is using social media to try and prove he and his friends are innocent. The Night Beat's Tina Shively is in the newsroom with more on this developing story. Tina?
Well, Mike, the poster's entire profile seems to have been deleted since the post popped up on Facebook earlier today. Tonight, the mother of one of those suspects says she's glad the truth, she says, is finally out. The user is named Pablo Pesos, and he listed Manny as his nickname. It's likely Emmanuel Greer, the 20-year-old Austin man that police are still looking for tonight. He claims that he and his friends are not guilty of sexual assault in this post here, that he didn't meet the girls at a gas station as they told police, but instead contacted them because they were prostitutes. The post also contained video of their text message thread. The poster here goes on to say that the girls stole a safe from him while they were at his apartment and that he and his friends held them and their phones as a way to get his stuff back. A 23-year-old Dimitri Rogers is one of those friends. He's facing aggravated kidnapping and aggravated robbery charges. His mom tells me that he's innocent, and she's grateful that the story and the video was published.
You have two young men in jail who is not being seen properly or being even listened to. So for somebody else to stand up and say, hey, here's what our side of the story is, and no, these gentlemen did not do that, here's what took place, I can appreciate that.
Now, court documents tell a different story than the one you heard just there. The woman told police that they went to the apartment to buy drugs, but instead were assaulted and held hostage until one of them escaped and was eventually able to call 911. Now, in a press conference on Tuesday afternoon, Austin Police Chief Brian Manley called those women not victims, but survivors of a horrific violent crime, saying that their detailed accounts helped police make arrests in this case. And we're told tonight that APD's sex crimes unit is investigating the post, but they have no further comment. In the newsroom, Tina Shively, KVUE News.
Thanks, Tina. A Canadian man accused of stabbing a police officer in Michigan went before a federal court today. The FBI says he stabbed an airport police officer in the neck with a 12-inch knife at Bishop International Airport. Officials say he entered the country legally through New York last week and is cooperating.
He has a hatred for the United States and a variety of other things which in part motivated him towards coming to the airport today to conduct this act of violence.
The 50-year-old will stay in custody until a bond hearing next Wednesday. The officer is still recovering.
An attorney for the Austin police sergeant suing Ford Motor Company says his client's life was put in danger. A lawsuit claims Sergeant Zachary LaHood was poisoned by carbon monoxide gas inside his Ford Explorer police unit in March. The Night Beat's Brandon Jones joins us now. And Brandon, LaHood is suing for at least $1 million.
Yeah, that's right, Mike. And today we spent quite some time on the phone with LaHood's attorney, Brian Chase. He wants the public to know that due to the carbon monoxide poisoning, LaHood cannot go back to work, and doctors really don't know when that'll happen. Now, Chase believes that this is a clear case of negligence. Now, during the crash in March, LaHood passed out while driving and almost hit an oncoming bus. LaHood said he experienced headaches, blurred vision, and nausea. He's suing Ford Motor Company, Leif Johnson Ford in Austin, and 5 unnamed companies. The lawsuit alleges Ford knew about the problem but failed to let the public know and did not issue a recall. The lawsuit says Leif Johnson Ford serviced the vehicle to fix the defects but failed to do so. It also states that Ford Motor Company knew defects in 2011 through 2015 Ford Explorers had potentially life-threatening consequences.
I want people to realize, and I want the public to be outraged over our police who are driving these cars to protect us, sometimes at very high rates of speed, chasing people, are at risk of passing out and not only killing themselves or hurting themselves, crashing into us.
So in a statement today, Ford Motor Company says in part, quote, "We take the safety of our customers very seriously. We have thoroughly investigated reports of exhaust odor and do not believe this odor condition poses a safety risk. In the case of police interceptors, odors can be caused by non-Ford modifications or repairs that were properly sealed." Now, since LaHood's accident, APD installed carbon monoxide detectors in all 361 APD Ford Explorers. Leif Johnson Ford here in Austin had no comment today. Quita?
Brandon, thank you. The race to repeal and replace Obamacare takes another turn. Senate Republicans are expected to reveal their health care bill tomorrow after weeks of closed-door meetings. Some lawmakers are concerned on how the legislation will handle issues like pre-existing conditions and Medicaid funding. A vote on the bill is expected to happen next week.
Trying to find parking in downtown Austin can be, well, challenging, but the Downtown Austin Alliance is working to change that. The Night Beat's Ashley Godot is live downtown, and Ashley, there's no easy fix here.
No, there's not, Mike. You know, right now it's really easy to find a parking space on Congress Avenue, you know, on a Wednesday at 10:09 at night. But if you come here during the day, you'll quickly realize that it's a different story. There's not enough spaces, and not all of the spaces available are open to the public. There is so much to love about downtown Austin. And then there's the parking, or should I say the lack of parking. How would you describe in one word parking in downtown Austin?
Miserable.
Sucks.
Difficult. That's why the Downtown Austin Alliance hired consultants to figure out what's causing the problem and come up with solutions. After a year and a half, they're presenting their findings to the Austin City Council Mobility Committee.
Austin has a ton of parking challenges.
Starting with supply, researchers found there are more than 71,000 parking spaces downtown. That's equivalent to 490 football fields, but they're not all open to the public.
25% of the total supply is never available to the general public.
And when parking garages are open to all, people would rather try to find one of the 6,500 street parking spots instead.
So why would I pay $5 an hour, $6 an hour in an off-street garage when it's $1.20 to park on the street? So the pricing incentives are really misaligned.
The consultants aren't just pointing out problems, they came up with 19 recommendations. The Alliance plans to put some into play in the next 18 months.
As the Downtown Management Association, we really need to look at things like signage, which are so important and we heard about today. Wayfinding is so critical. So those are elements that we could begin working with our membership.
Also getting the private sector to open space so everyone can find parking downtown. We've put a link to the full report and the recommendations on KVUE.com so you can check it out for yourself. Reporting live downtown, Ashley Goodo, KVUE News Night Beat.
Thanks, Ashley. And